Midnight Motorist is one of the most hotly debated subjects in all of Five Nights at Freddy's. It's one of the 3 mini-games required to get the Lore Keeper ending in Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, also known as FNAF 6. Over 8 years after its release, we still aren't quite sure what it means, who it depicts, or really anything about it at all. Is it possible to be 100% no fooling guaranteed solved as of right now? Probably not. However, I'd like to go through every little obscure detail for my own sick satisfaction, and to figure out why we saw the Orange Man and then never saw him again. I'll go through most of the different major theories, giving their information for and against, and coming to my own conclusion. Stick around because I'll also give my own little opinion on whose house this really is. In the minigame, you drive down a highway slowly gaining speed and dodging cars. I will note that you're driving on the left side of the road, which you do not drive on in North America. Near the end of the minigame, you can find a gap in the wall that takes you to a secret part of the minigame. You're driving down a forest path and get to what's seemingly a bar called Junior's. Your character is turned away at the door and keeps driving until you get home. When you get in, you start to look for your son, and someone on the couch asks you to leave him alone. You find that he broke a window and snuck out and say that he went to that place again, and he will be sorry when he gets back. This is where Midnight Motorist ends, and you get your little Faz tokens. Let's start with the theory that we're playing as William Afton. There's some pretty compelling evidence for this one, both in the game and in secondary media, which I don't consider to be canon or important by the way. Most obviously is that you're driving in a purple car, similar to the one that William drives in the Take Cake to the Children minigame in FNAF 2. This also ties into the file name of the secret portion of Midnight Motorist, which is titled Later That Night. Possibly later the night that William killed Charlie, as we see in the Security Puppet minigame. In the secret portion, you can find a clearing in the forest, which features a mound in the corner. There could be one of a few things. It could be the grave of the crying child, which would mean that the kid that runs away in the minigame would be Mike or a secret 4th Afton child. If the mound is nothing important, then it has no real implications, but some believe that it's the breaking ground for the sister location Bunker. If this was the case, then the Afton house and Bunker wouldn't be directly connected, at least at the time, but the clearing that the mound sits in could be the location for a new house they build, or something along those lines. The building labeled Junior's could be construed as a bar that William is barred from, or a previous Fredbear or Freddy's location that William isn't allowed to enter, because the layout of the map is similar to the path to Fredbear's from FNAF 4. I think it's more likely to be a bar that William got drunk at and flipped all the tables and did a little dance or something. The person that's in the chair watching TV would probably be Mrs. Afton, as they act as a kind of maternal figure, and completely different to how Michael acts towards the crying child. When Orange Guy leaves is where this gets weird, because you can see footsteps in the mud outside his kid's broken window, which would imply someone in a Springlock suit lured him away. William isn't really depicted as the best father, consistently shown to be neglectful and likely abusive, so the line, "he will be sorry when he gets back," does feel in character. The points against this being all Willy boy are pretty common too, primarily driving on the left side of the road, which will be a major roadblock in most of the other theories as well. Few countries drive on the left, and the USA isn't one of them, which would likely be when this takes place, due to the games taking place in and around Utah. There are a couple possibilities for this to still be William, but they're kinda stretching it. This could be them during a visit back to where William and potentially Mike grew up, due to their English accents, but there's an implication that they have recent history in this area, with the guy outside Junior's recognizing Orange Guy and the kid that ran away having done it before. Another point against it is the footsteps. Who or what could they be except for William? They are a three-toed, but this could easily be a larger area to fit a human foot inside, and it would be odd to have ghosts materializing at this point in the timeline. I think that the Occam's razor approach would have us assume that Purple Guy and Orange Guy are different entities, as we know color is extremely important in this series and the Springlock-shaped footprints are probably William in a Springlock suit. It is possible to be a Springlock suit despite it raining, because it could have just happened when it wasn't raining. And we do see during the main minigame that it's not raining yet, and a time skip happens between scenes. I think there's a possibility that the first part and the second part of the minigame are considered separate, but with the file name Later That Night, I think it implies that the Orange Guy is getting home later the same night that he speeds down the highway. Now who could Orange Guy be if not William? This refers to the idea that the Orange Guy you're playing as is the father of one of the victims. If this is the case, it follows the pattern from the other 2 important minigames in FFPS, which both show victims of William, being Susie and Charlie, the spirits possessing Chica and the puppet respectively. The orange guy was just speeding down the highway and stops at Junior's, which is assumedly a bar, and gets turned away at the door. To me, this implies that he's a drunk and was drunk driving. The clearing with the mound doesn't mean much of anything in this interpretation. Once he gets home, we see a house layout that we've never seen before, and an odd relationship between Orange Guy and the person watching TV, unlike anything we see with William and his family. If it's the mother of a victim and a victim of abuse herself, then the cold atmosphere and desire to run away from the child would make sense. William preying upon victims of abuse so they are easier to kidnap seems like some dastardly shit he would do. The footsteps are also likely to be William due to the similarity to a cutscene from Ultimate Custom Night. When you beat a certain amount of points in UC and you are shown a cutscene. One set of cutscenes shows Toy Chica talking about how she's going to get boys into her house, probably to kill them. There are constant references to William in these cutscenes, and a couple of the stories mirror ways that William killed someone, like luring Susie away by talking about her dead dog.
I told him that someone ran over his dog in front of my house. But once he's there, I'll entice him with warm cookies, lure him inside, invite him inside, and then I'll have him.
In one of these scenes, Chica refers to going to someone's house and breaking a window to get him, just like we see in Midnight Motorist.
And if he doesn't show up, I'll just go to his house. And if he doesn't open the door, I'll just find a window. Chimney's always an option.
There's two layers of dramatic irony and tragedy here. The place the kid was going to is likely Freddy's, a place where he sought refuge and safety from a drunken, abusive father, was the place where he was killed. As well as the final line of, he will be sorry when he gets back, which we can assume he never did, and could have already been killed by the time Orange Guy got back. There is also some compelling evidence against this though, particularly that damn highway driving on the left, and us never hearing of any victims in countries other than America. The mound in a clearing is an odd inclusion if we assume this is anything other than just a random mound. There is a second deadbeat piece of shit dad that actually has a name in this series. Henry! This one is mostly possible due to a lack of information on Henry, other than him being William's business partner and his incredible speech in the Insanity ending. Henry isn't depicted as being a very attentive father. He built a security puppet machine for general security, but he wasn't there to prevent his daughter's death after the security system is thwarted by a cardboard box. While he doesn't exactly seem abusive, it isn't unlikely that he could have been a drunk and had anger issues in his past. Now you might be asking, what about his kid that's referred to as a boy? Well, I got a stupidly obscure poll for you. Sammy Emily. Sammy is from the original trilogy of FNAF books and is Henry's son and Charlie's brother. Charlie believes that he is dead for decades, but it's revealed in the final book that it was Charlie that died and Sammy was taken by his mother after she and Henry divorced. Grieving, Henry built 4 robots representing 4 different development stages of Charlie's life and infused them with her memories to create a new Charlie. This is the only time we hear of Henry's wife or potential son, so it's by no means likely or proven to be in the games. But I think it's interesting that we see another very important family that consists of a father, son, and wife, and their relationships are seemingly fractured. This could be shortly following Charlie's death, where Henry has fallen into a drunken stupor, his wife is detached, and Sammy is running away from home, possibly because he wants to get away from the sadness in the house, or feels Charlie's spirit somewhere. There's a lot of issues with this one, primarily that it's propped up by assumptions and polls from media other than the games, which is said to be a different universe that only lightly reflects the games. The driving on the left is also an issue, of course, and the meaningless mound and clearing is odd for a minigame about Henry, a character that's introduced in this game and is given the final dump speech and not much else. If this is Henry, it'd likely be after Charlie's death, which explains Henry's attitude and drunkenness. But if Sammy is lured away to Freddy's by William, Henry should be freaking out way more than he does and comes across as clueless and dismissive of the idea that his kid could be in danger, not the attitude of someone whose kid was murdered. This final one is kind of odd and out of left field. The idea that the orange guy is William's father. This sounds insane, but it does solve the biggest loose end, driving on the left. The Afton family are distinct due to their British accents. Michael, William, and Elizabeth are all shown to have them.
I put her back together, just like you asked me to. She can dance. She can sing. She's equipped with a built-in helium tank for inflating balloons right at her fingertips.
I know it was an accident. Isn't this why you came here? be with me again.
which implies that William either grew up in the UK or around first-generation immigrants from the UK. If the orange guy is William's father, it establishes 3 pretty important things about him. William came from a broken home with an abusive, drunk father, a seemingly soft-spoken and crushed mother, and runs away from this situation all the time, even breaking his window to get somewhere that he deems safe. I would love for this to fit with the ticket for Fredbear's singing show we see in Security Breach, but it using US sense is a kick in the knee for that connection. This also means the footprints in the mud are not William, and could be almost anything else to be honest. William having an abusive father probably causes his less than cool tendencies as a father, to stalk but not be present, to allow for his kids to fuck with each other and run around, which gets his 2 youngest kids killed. There's of course a lot of issues with this. Primarily, it's an odd choice for one of the 3 important minigames to be a bit of information about the villain's childhood, and for them to choose to mirror some of its details in the game released 6 months after. It's also rare for bars and pubs in the UK to use a name like Juniors and for guards to be put outside, especially since the parking lot is empty and the bar is in the middle of a forest off a dirt road. Not exactly bustling. If Orange Guy is William's dad, why show William breaking a window and running away to a place consistently, and why end it there? It tells us nothing new of William and doesn't work as dramatic irony or as any half-satisfying conclusion to the minigame, and feels unintended. Out of these 4 theories, I clearly have a favourite, the victim's father theory. To me, this one fits the best both in terms of story and facts. I do have a way to get around the driving on the wrong side of the road. The first and second parts of the minigame aren't directly linked. You can't go through a hole in the wall on a highway and suddenly be on a dirt road while it's heavily raining. I think that the minigame is just that, a game that just had you drive on the left randomly, and the second half is some kind of haunting or representation of William's crime, similar to Arcade Theory. If you wanted to have it be a little more important, you could make the argument for this being Cassidy's murder, with some believing Cassidy's murder to be more violent, and Cassidy already having an abusive parent, it gives us an outlier to be more vengeful. I don't personally believe this though. So which of these do you believe? And did I miss any details or theories that are interesting? See you fellas.